Hi everybody. For the second project, what we're doing is creating order out of chaos. And by that, what I mean is we're going to create one large canvas that has lots of random large and small dots. And to get to a smaller module like this, we're going to carefully select areas of the chaos to create order. So let's take a look at that. If I go up to the menu item File New, and what we're going to do is create a new canvas. So I'm going to set pixels to inches if it's not on inches already, and make it 12 wide, 12 tall, and 240 DPI. That's important. If you leave it at 72, the images will be pixelated and not very pretty. So we need higher resolution to make it look good. And then turn RGB color into grayscale, and then create. And I don't need a frame for this. I'm just going to create, let's see, bring out my layers here. You know, they came over here. There we are. Create a new layer. So click the new layer button next to the trash can, create a new layer, come up to the elliptical marquee tool, which is hiding under the rectangle tool. Come to the center, hold Shift and Alt to create a perfect circle, not an ellipse. And then with black in the foreground, down here on the lower left, click on the paint bucket and fill the circle. And then deselect, so Control D. Now use the Move tool. The shortcut for that is just the letter V. And actually, before I move it off the frame, I'm going to copy this maybe 4 more times. So select all with a Control A, and then the whole canvas is selected. Control C, Control V as in Victor, V, V. Okay, so I've got 4 of these right now. Let's see how that goes. Try not to think too hard about where these go. I'm going to leave some space. I'm going to take one of them and Control T it, and then hold Shift and Alt so it doesn't skew and it reduces proportionally here. And then Control A, Control C, Control V, V. I was getting a little bit tight there before, so I'm just okay. And then one more, Control V and Control T, and hold Shift and Alt. And notice I can shrink these, but I don't want to enlarge them, because enlarging them makes them pixely. So again, to copy that, Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 V. I'm up to layer 12 here, and I'm just laying these out kind of randomly. I don't really want to think too hard about it. One rule I have is don't overlap anything. Okay, keep them all separate, and they should be perfect circles also. And then Control A, Control C, I just clicked on this guy, Control V, and then Control T for one more smaller one. Yep, something like that. And then Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 V. So I held down the Control key, and they're all stacked up in that one spot here. So we're kind of being random here. I'm trying to not think too much about it, with the one rule being don't overlap anything. I can decide to add more dots though, and I could, let's say if I needed a couple more of the smaller but bigger than the little guy, Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 and all right, I think that's probably enough. Kind of just spreading them out. If you want a few more, Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 and oops, where'd they go? There they are. Good. I'll stop here. So it's important to merge this all down. So I'm going to right click and left click merge visible. And that flattened everything down into one background layer. Now this is where it gets interesting, but first save this picture. File, save as, and name it project 2-1, and make sure it's JPEG and know where you're putting it. Okay, and when you hit it save, it'll ask you how much compression, and save it at least at 10, 11, or 12. Okay. Next, come up to the elliptical marquee and choose the rectangular marquee. And super important, hold Shift when you click and drag and make a box maybe 1/3 the size of this. And then all I'm doing while the marquee is turned on is dragging this around and finding interesting design. And I want to be sure that I have the frame inside the larger canvas. I don't want it to go outside like that, because I want to keep this a perfect square. Okay, and then copy this, Control C, Control N for new. It's going to create a new, and Control V to paste it. And then you come back here and move this. Don't change it, don't delete it, just move it, okay? Like that. Control C, Control N, create, Control V. So what you're going to do is try to find one that has a lot of black in it and not so much white, one that has sort of 50-50, and one that is mostly white with a little black. Okay, this is the mostly black one. Control C, Control N, create, Control V. So find 6 pieces, because we're going to make 6 larger designs now. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is create a canvas that's 6 times wider, 6 times taller, and lay these all out in a straight repetition. So I'm going Image, Canvas Size, turn inches. You could do the math with 6 times 4.483, or you can let the computer do it by changing these inches to percent and making the width 600 and the height 600%. And I'm going to anchor it in the upper left and say OK. And now you have to zoom out because this is 6 times larger, so Control 0. Okay, and then click on the Move tool just to make sure it's snapped into that corner. And Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 V. So there's 5 of them on top of the original. And snap it till you see the magenta line. Line up left, right, top, and bottom. Okay, that means they're snapped perfectly and aligned perfectly. Just like that, snap it in there. So we could keep going this way to fill the whole frame, or we could work smart and collapse these together, keep them off the background, copy and paste that. So I'm going to click on the bottom layer, hold Shift, click on the top layer, right click, merge layers, and then Control A, Control C, Control V, 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 V. You have 5 of them, and then just move those into position. And pay attention to those magenta lines again. Alright, and then right click and then flatten image. And that's it. So take each of your 6 modules and do that same process and save each one as Project 2-2, Project 2-3, and make sure you know where you're putting them so you can upload them into Google Drive. That's it. See you in class.